What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Pro and Bro Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. I'm Arnold Telegaarda.
And I'm Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser, and yet another episode 57 of Sitting Under the Learning Tree, literally. We have the final graduate of the Hart family dungeon, one half of the wrestling stable, the Hart dynasty, along with David Hart Smith and my girl Natty. This is going to be an incredible episode. Make no mistake about it. Tyson Kid, TJ Wilson, is one of the best in the business, and thank you for being on Pro and Bro Wrestling. I always say, don't die with the story and you tell it, bro.
Oh man, I appreciate you having me. I've watched a bunch of these, and when you messaged me, I was like, yes, finally, I'm in. So I was excited. I knew like we've always had a good relationship, so I was like, I know eventually I think he'll ask me, but I hope I don't have to ask him.
How are you adjusting to the new normal?
Yeah, I've adjusted pretty good. It's I get to work with great talent, so I've had a good transition into adjusting to my new role in terms of that. It's the talent have helped me so much that like now I'm very comfortable with what I'm doing. It took me a little bit to kind of get into the groove of everything.
Oh yeah, no, I actually meant like with the pandemic and the new like.
Oh God, I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good.
You know what? So it finally forced me to play my hand, and I didn't build it because I can't build three pieces of Lego together. But I got my home gym set up, and
Nice.
It's perfect. It has everything I need. If I get home from tapings or something and it's like 2 a.m., guess what? I can work out.
Yeah.
I don't have to rush and worry about like, oh my God, I didn't work out today, because I kind of can get OCD like that. So it forced my hand. I got my home gym built. I'm trying to think, and I've been very fortunate. I've been very lucky that we've continued to work throughout this. I know not everybody's had that privilege and that luxury. So I believe me, I don't take it for granted. I'm extremely grateful.
TJ, the one thing that's so special about you is that you are incredibly good with dates. October 5th.
Yeah.
October 5th, 2006. Does that like ring a bell for you?
Well, funny enough, October 5th. Yeah, I wrestled Kofi. I had my tryout match. Because you want to know something else funny? October 5th, 1996, I ran my first ever, at the time, WWF live event as a 16-year-old kid. So October 5th has been special. Like 10 years later, I wrestled Kofi in my tryout match.
Wow.
That's wild. That's wild because
I don't know why, and it can be a gift and a curse. This memory is like very vivid and very clear, but sometimes like I said, it can be a gift and a curse. Sometimes I remember too much. I'm like, maybe I could just store that one away and forget it somewhere.
Tyson, that's wild because you and Kofi wrestled in 2006 back in the Boston area when me and Kofi wrestled for Chaotic Wrestling. Kofi and I worked a tryout match, and that's how he got signed. He got signed out of the match with me. So it's just funny how things work.
That is so funny, man.
Yep.
It's funny. So I wrestled him in my tryout, and then I wrestled him on my first match, like while I was under TV match at Deep South. And then, man, I wrestled Kofi so much, like New Day stuff, obviously. I mean, I know that it's so funny how they say it. That saying is, I don't know if it's like just especially true in wrestling, or just like you kind of come across the ones who really have that drive and are gonna make it. You know what I mean? But like you really do see the same people on the way up as you do on the way down, or like your journey. If we all become like for example, like you said, you wrestled Kofi when he got signed. I wrestled Kofi when I got signed. Then next thing you know, all three of us are signed, and we're doing these tag matches on these loops. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
I couldn't have predicted that. It's crazy. And like at one point there was an idea for Harry to team with Kofi right as I got signed. So like Harry almost became a tag team with Kofi.
You know, TJ, one of the things that we have in common is that we're both fur dads. I know you're big with cats, and I actually have two Persian cats of my own, two boys.
Okay.
and they're the best, man.
4 boys, and
Yeah,
then the one girl, she's not a Persian though. She's just a little domestic black cat.
Wow. So you have a total of 5, huh?
I have 5, yeah.
That's amazing, man.
5 bad cats, man. They run my house. They don't follow any of my rules, and I have to follow theirs or I'm out.
Absolutely. I used to have a cat phobia, and I used to be scared of cats, but my wife really likes cats, so I didn't want to deprive that experience for her. So I trained myself to like it, and I think a Persian cat is the most like great transition because Persians are usually so chill and they're not as hyper as other cats.
Chill, they're very chill and relaxed for the most part. My one, the famous one, Two Paws, he has like he's a lot more like spunk and like fire about him, but otherwise generally those Persians are like so chill, relaxed. Like my big one, he'll sleep for like 14 hours a day or something.
Yep. My cat sleeps, like both of them, they sleep during the day, but they get productive at like 4 a.m. That's when they're like up and about, man. But what I liked about you guys is that you kind of incorporate that into your brand, and you actually have like some type of like your wrestling gear resembles like your love for cats, which is cool.
So Teddy, Natty's cousin, he started bringing his cat like on the road with him, and like people would like send me pictures all the time, like Teddy's got his cat, what's he doing? And I realized like, yo, this is like creating so much buzz. Like I keep getting texts about like Teddy and his cats, and sorry guys, I'm just going into my house now, so I'll have much better reception. There we go. My cats are mounting me right now. What's up, guys? There we go. Perfect. So I was actually, funny enough, I was sitting at Tampa Airport once, one of the first times early for a flight, which is very rare. And I was grabbing a meal, and it hit me, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm going to get my airbrush guy to airbrush my cats onto my gear. Mm. That'll be the closest I can do to having to bringing my cats on the road. I can't bring them on the road with me. So I was like, I'll do this. Like, this is pretty, like, irritating and, like, over the top. And, like, I don't know. I just thought it's like, most people I feel like that I've come across are, like, dog people. And so, like, here's this wrestler that for some reason has cats on his gear. I don't know. I thought it just was at least something different.
Yeah, I like it. It's cool. It definitely stood out. And I think a lot of people kind of like related to you because of the Total Divas episode, you know, like with your cat that eventually like you kind of had to say goodbye to, which broke my heart, man. Like,
oh man, that was rough. That was really rough. It was like that was we were on the road. I just come back from tearing my knee, and then my cat was sick for a little while I was home, and so he kept having to go to the vet. And of course he kept having to go to the vet really late at night, so it was always like that emergency one, so it's just even more expensive. But it's your animal and basically like your family. Absolutely. So you kind of spare no expense. Yeah, man. And I just had come back on the road, and Natty's mom was like, "Yeah, he had like another like seizure. He's not good." And I remember thinking, like, man, I don't know if I want to go there and like be there when he has to be put down. Like, I wonder if it's best just I have my memories of him. And then Kidman actually had a dog, and I think he had a similar situation, and I think he said his biggest regret was not being there with the dog for the final moments. And he said, like, he thought it would be too hard, but then later he realized that he should have been there. He felt like, so he kind of gave like Natty and I that advice, and I was like, oh man. And then it was during when we were filming Total Divas, so they were like, we know this is like really, really tough, but can we, do you mind if we film it? And like that way, you kind of have it forever. And they were really awesome, man. I remember just coming home, going to the vet. I remember we were thinking like, hey, maybe we can bring him home for a day. And when we saw him, we saw how bad he was. We did that. We spent that last little bit with him. And when we got home, the Total Divas crew, went and got us like all these groceries, and like they were so awesome, man. It's something I will never forget.
Yeah, man. This is the first episode on a wrestling podcast that I feel like crying, man. Because like, I don't
couldn't get through that one.
I don't cry when it comes to like watching movies about romance or someone dying or anything like that. But I can't watch movies with animals that die, man. Like The Good Dinosaur, like I cried so many times, and like other dog movies, I can't do it.
Like I've talked about this. Me and Sami Zayn. I don't know if Freddie's experienced the same thing or you yourself. So like when I fly, I don't know if this happens. When I fly, if I watch a movie, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the altitude or I'm just so zoned in, or things are more emotional, I find. And like I've talked about this with a few guys. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but like, whew, man, one of the first times I really experienced it, I watched Marley and Me on the plane, and I had never seen it before. I didn't know, and dude, I was like, I turned away from the person I'm sitting with. I'm in a window seat. I'm just like, tears are coming down, and I was like, what's happening to me? This is a movie.
Yeah. I have a theory with that. I think the reason why people feel more emotions in the watching a movie in the plane is because I feel like they're more invested in the movie because they have no distractions and there's nothing else to do.
No phone, there's nothing,
yeah,
like,
it's just you and the movie. Yeah, so I totally get that, man.
I have other weird theories that like my nails get a little longer, my hair gets a little longer when I fly. I don't know why. It could all be total in my head, but I don't know. It's just what I think.
No, I'm sure there's some science that backs it up that I just don't know about. But who knows, man?
You're right. I'm so zoned in when I'm watching a movie on a plane that like nothing's distracting me.
Yeah. So when you're on the road though, who takes care of the cats when you know?
Natty's mom.
Oh,
Natty's mom. And so like they love her, man. They love like when she comes over like in the morning, if they hear the door, they'll of course like get interested. And if they hear her voice, they go running for my bed. They love Natty's mom.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I don't know if you remember this, but we actually met at Bakersfield on Raw, like backstage, and I thought that was really cool because like I really enjoyed our convo there because I feel like just like me, you listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts.
I remember sitting and talking with you guys in catering.
Yeah, that was good times, man. Good times.
What's so funny about you is you'll ask a question and then I'll answer, and then you'll say that. You'll say, "Hey man, I'm nosy. I like asking questions." And I'm like, I appreciate it rather than like I mean just I like it. I like just being open about it. It's cool. It makes me laugh. It's a funny thing to say.
Yeah, when I'm not on the ban list or anything.
No, hell no.
Yeah, I love wrestling. What's that?
I said everyone loves you, man.
Yeah, I just don't want to be one of those guys like, oh, here he is again.
Never.
Again. I love being around. I love being nosy. I always say I still have a lot left in the tank. And
oh, dude, you have a lot left in the tank, and you look great. I've seen some of your stuff, obviously before this pandemic, and I was like, man, Freddie's moving. Not that you ever didn't, but you still move great. You always kind of have that like snap about your work that I've always really liked. It's one of those things, man. I kind of make this joke, but I don't know if it's a joke or if it's just completely honest, but I always say that there's almost like a WWE Rolodex, and once you're in that Rolodex, unless you do get yourself moved to the ban list, you can always come back. You can like once you're in that Rolodex, you can always come back. Now for some guys might be a 2-year hiatus, a 3-year. I don't control like those years by any means, but like once you're kind of in that Rolodex, there's always like, as long as you didn't do something to really mess up,
yes,
there's always a possibility, man.
Yeah.
Well, TJ, in a couple of weeks to the world, I'll be able to make an announcement, and you'll be very proud of me. Off air, I'll be able to tell you what I'll be doing.
Cool.
But like one person that comes to my mind is like recently before the pandemic, I was on a show with Teddy Hart, and he is something else, man. But he fell in love with me after I told him the story of my uncle, who's a urologist. He helped Bret Hart with his prostate. Bret always said, out of all the doctors that he talked to, my uncle, Dr. Charles Rosser, was the most informative and assured Brett that he would recover. Just ask Brett. So when I told Teddy Hart that, he was protecting me. He was just like making sure everything was good with me because you know, as long as I've been doing it, I still have respect for you guys, but
no,
he
but
was
you
just
always have that energy, and I'm very much like kind of an energy person, and I of course none of us ever want to admit when we've been wrong, but I really feel like I've rarely been wrong when it comes to reading somebody's energy right when I first meet them. Like sometimes, and I think we all have it. I just think sometimes maybe we kind of ignore it, but like I'll almost know right away if I like somebody or not like somebody, and I try not to. If I for some reason I'm getting that kind of sense, like I kind of don't like this person, I'm not trying to look for something to not like them. I just try to figure out why is this going off like that. But like you're one of those guys that's always had a good energy, and it's so funny you say that. I didn't know that about Brett and about your uncle, but I remember talking to Brett prior to his surgery, and he was rightfully so, he was very worried about it, and because there were possibilities of things being bad if he didn't get the surgery, but also things not being great if he also did get the surgery. So at one point he almost wasn't sure if he wanted to, and I don't mean to divulge his information, but I think at one point he wasn't sure kind of what he wanted to do. So that's really funny that it was like talking with your uncle that kind of
I'm telling you, man.
his mind at ease.
Yeah, next time you talk to Brett, you ask him about Fred Ross or Darren Young and his uncle helping him out. It's so once I told Teddy Hart that, man, he was just like, he just had my back and everything. He wanted to put me on other shows. He wanted me to work him. So like
that's awesome.
Yeah, you guys are just amazing, man.
No, you've always been awesome.
TJ, speaking of health and everything, what inspired you to create your company, Workhorse Fitness Supplements?
So, and again, I know I keep deferring back to Freddie, but so I always tried to keep myself in pretty good shape when I was wrestling, and then I get hurt. I have my neck injury, and I know to myself that I'm not gonna wrestle again. And at that time, like when it first happened, I'm thinking, say if I were to wrestle again, how far down the road would that be? So friends kept coming and visiting me, and I kept having friends from Canada come and stuff. And so like they'd be like, "Hey man, you want to get pizza? You want to get donuts?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have to wear spandex next week, so why not?" And then and I have this neck that with my knee was a little different. With my knee injury, I was able to do the rehab and kind of help the process along. Mm-hmm. With the neck's the opposite. I was in a brace, and you don't want to move your neck. You want to keep it as stationary as possible so the bones can fuse. There's not it's the opposite. It's not me working. It's my body doing its own thing, and I just have to kind of allow it to do its own thing.
Yeah.
So I would still go to the gym once a day at that time, but I was not allowed to lift anything more than 15 pounds. So I was just doing a lot of machines and really, really light. And I had the neck brace on, and the neck brace also helped tell other people hey, be careful. Clearly something's wrong with me. Cause if you see me without the neck brace, you wouldn't know that I had neck surgery at that time. So anyway, that's a long story, but I just ended up kind of, fast forward a year, I have my year checkup with my surgeon, and he says surgery looks good, blah 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 blah. My the neck, the fusion went well, the screws are all in place, everything's good. But he didn't want me to wrestle again, obviously, which I'd kind of come to terms with it. But anyway, then I'm like, okay, now what? And then I still was going to the gym, but I kept tricking myself I can eat wings 3 times a week because I don't wear spandex tomorrow. But then guess what? I still have to go to bed at night, and I don't want to go to bed with a t-shirt on. And I was like, oh my God, I don't look my best, man. And then WrestleMania was in Orlando, and I was going there, and I was like, oh my God, it's Orlando, it's April, it's hot. I'm going to hang out at the hotel. I'm going to see all these people I haven't seen in 2 years, and I'm going to show up out of shape. Oh my God. I was like so self-conscious, and I started training really hard again, and being around the guys really gave me like that awesome energy that I truly needed. And then like things kind of got in motion, and I ended up trying to get in the best shape I possibly could. I knew I didn't have to wrestle anymore, so I didn't have to kind of carry so much. I didn't have to try to carry as much weight, so I could kind of, at one point, man, when I first came back as a producer, I think I would like had dropped to like 174, 173. And dude, it was so weird. I was like freezing cold on planes. I was like, oh my God. When I wrestled, I was about 190, 195. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like so skinny right now. I put on a little bit more. I'm like 180. But anyway, I just, through that transgression and that process and that transformation kind of, my friend that was kind of working with me, that works with me with Workhorse, he was like, hey, like this company wants to like send you supplements, blah 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 blah, and one thing led to another, and I thought, well, I'd rather kind of have my own company.
Yeah.
In terms of like, I like to where I can control the ingredients through a distributor, but they can send me samples. I'm like, well, how about a little bit less of this and a little bit more of that? They'll send it to me, and like they're awesome. And so I get to put out like my own thing that I genuinely use daily as well. I use the BCAAs the same BCAAs I sell to people and I give away to friends. It's the same BCAAs I have in my water right now. I use my stuff all the time, and it's something I truly believe in. And I think Teddy's dad used to try to get us to work out when we were young and we were lazy and we were skinny kids. And in my mind, I just thought, oh, eventually you just get bigger. But that's not actually how things work. You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
And he has this saying, and it's 100% true. And he said, working out is the one thing that works 100% of the time in 100% of the people. Now, obviously, there's going to be varying degrees. But like, if I go study to be a scientist, there's no guarantee I'm going to be a scientist. I'll tell you right now, I will not be. I promise you, I can't do it. But if I go work out and I work out every day properly how I'm supposed to, and I'm having the proper nutrition, in a month from now, I'm going to be stronger and I'm going to have more of an idea, and my body's going to change. So like, he's the one who said it works 100% of the time in 100% of the people. And it's something that has stuck with me, and like, I believe that to be very true. And I want to help as much as I can, like, also get that out there.
And I think it's really smart that you branded it as Workhorse, because obviously with the CM Punk pipe bomb and everything, we all knew before that you were a workhorse. Obviously we knew how like talented you are, but hearing CM Punk saying it at that segment, like, how did you feel?
Man, so double-edged sword. It was in Tampa. Funny enough, that Raw was in Tampa. However, I just torn my knee, and I just got the MRI that day, or I'd seen the doctor that day, and I knew he needed surgery. So it was really awesome that Punk was doing that and giving me that shout out live on Raw. Was awesome. That was great, and I'll take that any day of the week from anybody. I will take a compliment and a shout out any day of the week, especially the power that Punk, especially at that time, had on the microphone. No doubt. Right. The double-edged sword part I'm talking about is I wasn't able to and I knew I couldn't capitalize on it right away.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, and he knew I needed surgery, because when I got hurt, he kept telling me to text him and keep him up to date. So he knew I needed surgery, but I think he also knew, like, giving me that little shout out would kind of maybe give me that little shot in the arm that maybe I needed at that time. Yeah, sure. And it definitely, like, it kind of helped my recovery in terms of like, okay, like, he said my name, that's really cool. Yeah. Maybe that can turn into something. I got to heal this knee and get back there. What else was I going to say? So funny enough, it was one of those like drafts or trades. Mm-hmm. And Wade Barrett had come from Raw to SmackDown now, and I was on SmackDown prior to that. And I don't want to go into a Miz-style impersonation of Wade Barrett, but Wade has a very cool, distinct voice and accent.
Do it, bro.
So Wade looked at the sheet and he saw that I was wrestling like 2 or 3 matches that day, and he's like, TJ,
Yes.
over here you're a real workhorse, aren't you? They got you working multiple times. I said, Wade, this is like almost weekly. He's like, and then he said, wow, you're a real workhorse. And then that's just kind of where it came from. And then Punk said it in the pipe bomb, the second pipe bomb a year later or something. But yeah, it was cool, man. There was some, I don't know that I always thought this, but somewhere along the way, my mindset shifted to nothing was more important to me than the respect and not admiration, but the respect and appreciation, I guess, from the talent and from my peers. I think that was like the thing I was going for the most.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I should have tried to work on other things to maybe catch the fans' eye a little bit more here and there. No doubt about that. But there was some point where I had this specific mindset that like my thing was going to be like, if you're around me backstage, I'm going to be talking a lot of smack in a joking way.
Always.
Exactly. And I try to do it to lighten the mood, because we're sometimes doing these long drives and we're at a show for 3 hours and you got a 4-hour drive. And then if ever somebody wrestled me, I never wanted to phone it in. I wanted to give them my best, and I wanted them to leave that match thinking more of me than they did going in. And I wanted to, especially when I hurt my knee, I really realized how much those relationships meant. That was even before my neck. But with my knee, I really realized how much those relationships meant when you're hurt and you're at home, and like Natty's on the road and I'm just at home by myself watching Raw or whatever, and the Usos are texting me or Kurt and you're like, oh, okay, like I'm not just invisible. Darren, was it your shoulder around that time?
Oh no, knock on wood, no shoulders, my knee.
Your knee?
My knee.
And I remember reaching out to you and you're like, dude, I'm gonna ask you like a million questions. I was like, please do. Like,
yes.
You understand, like when you get hurt and other guys reach out to you that have been hurt and you're like, oh my God. So I always thought we were kind of this like cool little niche click thing.
Yes.
But then when you get hurt, you're like, oh my God, like I'm really in, like this person's reaching out to me and this person. And like, I don't forget those things. As great as my memory is, I really don't forget those things and those people that reach out. And that, at that point, from then on, nothing became more important than my relationship with my peers. Like I don't wish this on anybody, but like when I hurt my neck, just as a small little like tidbit for that is like people who I was friends with, but maybe we didn't exchange numbers. Now they had to, all of a sudden they're texting me. They had to get my number from somewhere, from somebody.
Yeah.
And they're texting you and reaching out to you, and you're like, okay. And then like, man, like when I got so many texts about like, man, I hope you're okay. I really miss your commentary at the monitor. And I was like, you know what you do. So for me, I was like, okay, I wasn't just looked at as being a jerk for like doing my joking commentary at the monitor. Like at least some talent, Naomi being one of them, and Tamina text me letting me know that they really missed it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And
wait,
like,
what? What year did you hurt your knee?
I hurt my knee in 2013.
2013. I think I hurt mine. When did I hurt mine? Maybe 2014.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Earlier you were talking about how, you wish you'd do more to capture the fans' attention and all that. But in my opinion, as a fan, I think you did just that, especially right off the bat when you came swinging with the haircut, and I think that was an iconic look for you. And what's funny about that is the first time I ever seen you wasn't through an actual match of yours, but the first time I seen you was through an action figure of yours. And I was like, wait, who's that guy with that hair? And then I saw some of your work.
That's what I'm going for. I needed something, man. I didn't have this over the top personality. I wasn't there with my promos yet in terms of not that I was ever truly a great promo, but I did get comfortable eventually. But at that point, I still wasn't. I'm a little under 6 feet tall, and I'm a little under 200 pounds. So I always felt I needed something. And literally, like I was like, I had that haircut, and I was in England, and I was there for about 6 months or 4 months, sorry, the first time, and we did a show, and then we were back in this town, and this woman came up to me with her son, and now her son had the same haircut as me.
Wow.
She's like, look at him. And I was like, okay, like maybe this is something, because like this kid now has the same haircut as me, which is like very unusual haircut. And funny enough, one time I was with Harry. We were in Japan in the hotel lobby using the internet, and pre-smartphone. And the two guys working the hotel, they thought I was Ronaldo.
Oh, because the
soccer player.
Yeah.
They didn't think I looked like Ronaldo. They literally thought I was Ronaldo. And I was like, guys, you think we're Ronaldo's in this hotel in Japan using your internet? Come on,
That's
man.
Hilarious, man. Everyone knows you as, such a great in-ring skill worker. But I think, a lot of people also think that you're a great entertainer with all the stuff you did with Cesaro, man. Like all those segments to me, not only were you guys great in the ring, but just all those comedic segments, like they were hilarious to me. And I love that time that you had in your career, man.
I tried to use at that time, we had the WWE app, and they were trying to just fill content to go on the app, and it would like air during commercial breaks and stuff. So at some points, like we'd have matches, and it would air stuff on the app. Like when we go to break, you could watch the rest of the match that you're missing during commercial. You could watch it on the app. Yeah. And also at one point there were just promos. So like, dude, one time I just did like, I was driving and I came up with some weird freestyle, kind of like a spoken one. And I just did it on the app, and I just like, wow. The guy kind of gave those ones were kind of awesome because it was very, I'm sure Fred did a bunch of those too, but they were like kind of, you were left to your own freedom. Yes. And the guy kind of said to me like, hey, TJ, maybe talk about this. And I said, okay. And he had no idea I was going to do this like little, like I said, the kind of like a spoken freestyle. And I did it, and I looked over at him, and he was like, he liked it. He was like, where'd that come from? So it was kind of cool. I tried to, you know what? So I do say that a lot. Where I got lucky in terms of the end of my in-ring career is that it happened when it did. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, who knows what the future would have held, but it happened when it did, and it didn't happen, say, for example, a year prior. So I got to have that last year of body work, which is like my NXT run, then me coming back to the main roster, which then led to me and Cesaro as a team, which, I didn't choose this, but they say like go out on top. And in terms of my career, in terms of where I felt like I was at as a character and as a part of the show, I thought for me, obviously I wasn't on top of the entire company or the entire Raw, but for where I thought I had ever stood, I was on top of my game in terms of that. Again, that's out of my hands, but at least that year body of work, if you go from May 2014 to June 2015, May 2014, I'm wrestling on the very first takeover against Neville, and then up to like, for example, the Elimination Chamber, the first ever tag one that we did in Corpus Christi, and then the next day is when I get hurt. So I had a lot of time to sit and think and feel sorry for myself, for sure, and I had a lot of time to sit and think and try to clear my thoughts. And I think that's kind of the conclusion I've come to, is I got to at least have this last year of what I am very proud of, my body of work. And at least, like to the point earlier, at least people got to see that and think like, oh, he is entertaining, or like, oh, it turns out he has a brain and it's connected to his tongue and it works and he can speak. He actually can form words out of his mouth. It's unbelievable.
TJ, I got to tell you, like for me, when it came to promos, I was never comfortable years ago because I wasn't out publicly. So I would always do promos like this to try to deepen my voice and sound more masculine. once I came out, I became more comfortable. Whatever I say, I say. And like, you know, now I've been at 36 years old, I've embraced it. However I talk is how I talk, you know.
That's so awesome.
If you want to give me a script, give me a script. I'm going to say what I want to say and get to the point. You know what I mean? So you're not alone when it comes to the whole promo deal, you know?
It's so weird. Like, you don't know, like, I totally understand your point. And like, that makes that, like, I understand like you kind of being in your own head. And
yes,
it's funny. Like, same thing. I was like, oh, my voice, like, do I need to make my voice tougher? Like, it's just so funny that like you play with all this stuff. I remember like there were two options. You know, you're there in FCW too. There's two options when it came to Wednesday promo class day.
Oh God.
One option was I could kind of avoid it, kind of like hide out and go home.
Yes.
But I knew in terms of me maybe embarrassing myself, that's going to be the easy option.
Yeah.
But I also knew I'm not going to improve at this whatsoever if I don't attack it. I have to attack it the same way I attacked my in-ring, except just like at one point I just felt I was so behind. Like I'll say at least 90% of the people, I was like, oh my God, like they're going to think my wrestling's not as good because of like, well, I can out-talk it. I don't know. I just, same thing you get in your own head, man. And it's always I guess the good thing is it's always so much worse in your own head than it really is, that when it goes down, you're like, oh, whew. In my mind, I made it out to be the worst thing in the whole world, but I just did a 60-second promo and it's all good. The world didn't end. It's still okay. I can still get Chipotle after practice. It's all good.
Well, I was always a mark for Shane Douglas, so I would always try to deepen my voice to sound like him, to sound more masculine, and I just hated it. But Wednesday promo class, bro, I was in there with Percy Watson. He was good. Like, he could walk the walk. I was the bumper. I was the one, like, doing all the work. So we would talk Tuesday night, and we would come up with some kind of wacky promo. And I would always think that my promos were the drizzling shits, but Dusty always encouraged me. Always, dude, like, you know, he helped me out so much.
It just gave me goosebumps, man. So I have two funny stories. When did you get signed?
May 4th, 2009.
Okay. So we didn't quite cross paths in developmental.
Yeah, you were gone. You were like, I was doing crisscross with Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio in the ring. Like, you were already gone, man.
Okay, so you're not there. So my best promos became when Harry and I kind of had a real falling out right before, like, I ended up getting called up to ECW. So I did like one promo where I did kind of like one little like shoot part on him at the end. And then he did a promo the next week mentioning my name. So I was like, okay, I'm a big Tupac fan, so I think I'm going to do this like hit him up version of a 60-second PG promo. And I unleashed on this promo. I remember Heath's like, hey man, you want me to, can I run my promo by you? And then you run yours by me? And I was like, okay. So Heath ran his promo by me, and I thought Heath was always very charismatic and good. You know, he just, at that time, he was very funny because he was like sure of himself, but also not 100% sure.
Yes,
and then, So I did my promo, and he was like, you're going to say all that about Harry? And I said, yeah. He's like, oh, man. And I did it. And then after Harry came up to me and he said, hey, listen, if you mention my name again next week, we're going to have a problem. And the truth is, like, the truth is, Harry will beat the hell out of me, you know, every day of the week. But I wanted to stand my ground. And I was like, man, I said, well, looks like we're going to have a problem.
Wow.
And Norman Smiley came and he said, guys, I know something's going on with you two personally, but here's the thing. You two are both looked at so highly here that, like, if you two are doing shoot promos on each other, the truth is it's going to escalate. Like, you guys are pros. You guys are going to be okay, but two other people here that maybe have an issue are going to start doing shoot promos on each other, and they're not going to understand, and it's going to get really ugly. So, like, you guys need to lead by example. You guys can't. And I was like, hey, Harry, you want to go to Crazy Buffet and this is done? And like, dude, then we were best friends again. It was like this little 2 or 3 week period. And then about Dusty, man. So we did the taping before to set up the first takeover, me against Neville. And I did a promo. That was the first time I said the word fact, It wasn't written. I got the promo. It said like I performed at WrestleMania. I performed on Raw. I performed on SmackDown. I performed at WrestleMania. And at Takeover, blah 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 blah. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, let me think. Like I performed on Raw. Like that's true. Okay, fact. I performed on Raw. Fact. Okay, performed on SmackDown. Fact. The truth is, I clotheslined Vince at WrestleMania, which is like how many people beat up Vince at WrestleMania? Off the top of my head, it's like Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and like maybe Linda slapped them or Trish with that WrestleMania. Anyway, I was like, not a big list of people. So like to me, that's a big thing. So okay, fact. I don't know. And anyway, that's when I came up with fact. And then after that taping, Bloom Tenzai told me that Hunter requested that I come down and work with Dusty on promos. And I didn't see it as a demotion, but I did see it as like, okay, no problem. I'll drive in Monday and I'll do promo class. And dude, I'm telling you, again, it's one of those things you work up in your mind. I drove there Monday from my house to Orlando, about 90 minutes, fretting about like, how is this going to turn out? Because I knew how good all those NXT guys were. They've been working with Dusty for months.
Yes.
And now here I come. I'm supposed to be this guy from the main roster, and I'm about to wrestle Neville at the main event of this first takeover. And I know that their promos are going to blow me out of the water. What? Once that veil's gone, it's gone. I was like, oh my God, man. And so the way Dusty had that one set up at the Performance Center was you stand there and there's a monitor behind you, so everybody kind of sees what like the camera's seeing. And I guess it could have gone down one of two ways. It could have gone down that I stand up there and before I go, Dusty goes, hey, wait a minute, look at this guy. He's been on the main roster for 5 years, and yet here you guys all are, and you're all better than him at this. That's not Dusty's character, but that's one way that that's like in my mind. Thinking of worst case scenario, that's what's gonna happen.
Yes,
dude. I went up there. I stood. I didn't even say a word yet. And Dusty said, "Hold on, look at this guy." He said, "This guy's been sent down here to work with us on his promos." He's like, "Look at him on that screen. This guy looks like a movie star." He's like, "This guy's in that ring is untouchable. If he gets his promos anywhere near his in ring, none of you guys are gonna see this. The world's his." And I was like, okay, like I can do this. I can do anything now. Yes. Dusty knew, man. He liked taking guys that weren't complete, and he liked building that confidence. If he saw somebody that was maybe too good, he might not really set his. Cody's talked about this. He might not kind of set his sights on them a little bit. Yes. But if he knew, like, oh, this person just needs a little bit of that or a little bit of that, dude, it was unbelievable. Dude, he set me up so awesome. So awesome.
Speaking of Harry, like the first time the world actually ever saw you guys was 1997 in WWE's Canadian Stampede, when you guys were just kids and you guys came in the ring. You guys were so young back then. I know you started wrestling at a young age. When you at that time, were you already wrestling?
Yeah, I wrestled. I wrestled the WWE match the year prior at a live event in Calgary.
That's crazy.
With Harry.
Wow.
Harry was 11. I was 16. Harry just turned 11. A tag match we did with Teddy and another friend of ours.
So that night, how was that experience for you, being in the heart of like everything, the whole like America versus Canada, like all these big names like Goldust, Austin? How was that?
Unbelievable. And oh man, so I don't know if it's that because I've gotten older or if it's something to do with my neck injury, but like I've become a lot more emotional over the last little while. I don't know, the last few years. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure what that. Maybe it's a combination of things. But anyway, there are certain matches that if I watch, I have a hard time not like tearing up. Like I can feel it coming and I like fight it. That's one of those because. I mean, you're right. That's true. I should.
You're an OG, bro.
And that, dude, that match, that pay-per-view is the last time the Hart family's kind of all together whole. Like we had this awesome barbecue at Stu's after that pay-per-view, and like that moment where like that wasn't planned. All of a sudden, one of the grandkids kind of got pulled over the railing, and then it just was like free for all. It wasn't like, hey guys, at the end of the night, you're all going to come in the ring. Like, obviously that would have been awesome too. But the fact that it was just this organic thing. I'm sitting beside Harry in the front row for that whole pay-per-view. Dude, that crowd is so loud. Harry and I can't even talk to each other.
Wow.
If you go watch it back, you'll see the camera kind of shaking during parts of that. You'll hear Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler talking about how loud it is. It was unbelievable in there, man. Unbelievable. That was so, dude. The booking of Towns happens months prior. Like that just happened to be done like that. That wasn't done like that. Because of the angle. A fan a few years ago gave me a set of DVDs that had every Heart Foundation, the group segment that there was on Raw. And there were a lot of things I kind of forgot, like little things I forgot had happened. But man, like when you watch Brett at Canadian Stampede had just turned 40 years old. You watch him at 40 years old, his body and his work and his promos. Yeah. Like he hit his stride at 40 years old, man.
Yeah, I know, because I remember watching I think it was the Wrestling with Shadows documentary, and there was a time when like he was prepping up for the match, and he was just talking. I forgot who he was talking to, but one of the crew members. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, and she's like, no way, you don't look 40. I'm like, yeah, I'm turning 40. Yeah. And I mean, in my head, I always thought he was like 35, 30, you know, because well, 40 is young anyways, like these days, but still, like man, like you still like you're in your prime, you know. It was really amazing.
Man, it's like, I've kind of talked with him a little bit, like at times about like if things had kind of gone down a little different, like if things hadn't gone down the way they went down, and like if he had stayed there and just like man, it's interesting. Like that 97, man, he's on fire because like that Canadian Stampede match is nuts. I think the ring entrance is one of the most perfectly done things ever. It's like Pillman comes out first to the stage and he waits. And then Jim comes out and he waits. Mm-hmm. And then Davey, and they're all together. And then Owen, and then there's this pause, and the building is rumbling. They know who's next. It's Brett. Yeah. All the American guys are already down in the ring. They know Brett's out next. And the building's rumbling. And Brett's music hits, man. And he high-fives all those guys. And it's like, all right, now the five of us are going to war. And they walk down that. I love that. I get goosebumps. That match is too much for me, man.
Now that you mentioned it, the whole Nexus versus Team WWE, when they kind of did it that way, and it was like Edge, John Morrison. Was that paying tribute to that moment, you think, or was it just like a coincidence?
Maybe. And what's kind of funny is we have a match with Nexus. I'm involved in one. They do one on Raw like the week before, where they beat us. We do a 7-on-7 elimination, and the Nexus clean sweep. And I remember specifically Freddie pins me in that.
I don't remember.
And then you guys go on to SummerSlam.
Oh,
Nexus, man. Nexus in terms of like things that I've been around for, and I was on the main roster a year before Nexus came. Like things I've been around for. I remember that first one. So I don't know if everybody knows the story, but the truth is in WWE, it's not like if something big's going on down, not everybody knows. They don't come around and say, hey, TJ, do you know like the NXT guys are going to debut and cause complete mayhem at the end of the show? Like they don't, I think people think that we know everything that's going to go on. Even as a producer, a lot of times I don't know what exactly is going on in other matches or other segments. Yeah. And especially if it's like a big surprise like that day. Now that I know how it works as a producer, I guarantee a lot of producers did not know what's happening that day. And I just remember seeing I remember watching NXT and becoming invested in it, and then seeing Wade Barrett win it. And I remember thinking man, I wonder what's going to happen with all those guys, because those guys put a lot of hard work into those weeks of TV. And I thought really connected, and I was like, man, there's a lot of potential in these guys. And then all of a sudden, I remember perfectly, we're in Miami. I finished my segment. I wrestled Kali and Hornswoggle that day, so swallow that. And then I was getting ready to leave because it's a 4.5-hour drive home, and rules have changed. At that time, you're not allowed to leave early, so I'm thinking I'm maybe going to sneak out. And Crown was like, no one can leave. No one can leave. You got to stay for the show. And I heard somebody say something like, oh, did you see so-and-so's here? And I was like, maybe did you see Tarver's here? And I was like, I wonder what's going on. And then it was the way the lineup was written is it just kind of says seg, whatever, the last seg, just says whatever the match was, Punk and Cena, something like that. And then I remember just seeing like these guys coming down from like the aisleways, boom, boom, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. They're like a gang, and then they're like a group. And then like when you guys started like beating those guys up, it was like, okay, cool. And then all of a sudden you guys started like ripping apart the ring, and I was like, oh wow, like this is cool. Like this is kind of big. And then right away, man, those were some of my favorite live events in terms of it felt kind of like anything would happen. I don't know if you remember these. It was so Sheamus is, I believe, Sheamus is world champion. He's wrestling Cena on the live events, and the anonymous GM would flicker in, and it would say, okay, now from the anonymous GM, Nexus are now going to be lumberjacks at ringside. And so like you guys would beat up Cena once or twice. I remember thinking like, if I'm a fan, they're like, okay, obviously they're going to help Sheamus win. But then Sheamus you guys end up beating up Sheamus too. So now as a fan, I'm thinking, oh, wow, Cena might win the title tonight because like Nexus is interfering, but they're also beating up Sheamus. And it just added such a cool, like unpredictability I felt on those live events at that time.
Yeah.
TJ,
Yo.
Wait, you talked about being invested in NXT. When I was part of NXT, I hated it. It was a game show. You know, I always say if I wanted to do American Gladiators or American Ninja Warrior, I would have done that. But like,
no doubt,
you're like juggling. Like I had to juggle. I can't juggle. So as a fan, people aren't going to take me seriously. So it's going to take even longer for the people to get invested in me. The talk challenge, all this other BS, it was awful. It was a nightmare.
I'm sure living it was like that. I enjoyed watching it. I guess maybe being a little bit on the inside and knowing the unpredictability of it.
I hated it.
But then you guys, to your credit, instantly erased any possible goofiness when you guys first debut as Nexus.
True.
When you guys come down and you guys beat up Cena and you guys beat up Punk and you beat up Justin Roberts and you guys smash the ring and do that stuff, no one's going, oh man, these guys were juggling 3 weeks ago. They go, wow, this seemed pretty legit. And then like in the explanation was like, you guys were made to be a joke. So you guys thought we were a joke. Well, who's the joke now? We just beat up your entire roster.
Yeah,
Funny enough,
true.
I remember doing a pre-tape with you guys, and I remember it's like something, and it's like it's something where you guys beat up Harry and I, and the Nexus do, and so if it's me if it's one-on-one, it's me just stomping one guy. I know how hard I may or may not be kicking a guy. when it's 7 people kicking 2 guys, and there's 14 feet and 14 hands, you just gotta tuck and just cover up and just know like some live rounds you're gonna be hit with some stuff that's really gonna hurt.
TJ, it was the worst for me because I was a shy guy. I was still closeted, so I was like doing this fake stuff while Ryback is like plowing into Heath, plowing into this person. Every time we would come back from the curtain, Heath would be like, damn it, Skip, man. You throwing those big elbows, man. You got to stay in tight, man.
Oh, yeah.
So
did he clothesline Mark Henry really hard?
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
It wasn't
actually
good for
the
us,
first time
man.
I wrestled you was a 6-man tag with Punk.
Oh, I don't remember. You're
Punk,
the one that's good with dates.
It was in Europe. It was you, Punk, and Gallows against me, Harry, and Ray. Mysterio.
Wow, what a match.
And so funny because you said like you were shy and stuff. I remember you like because you're because Punk was your pro on NXT, right?
Yes.
So that's why you're in the 6-man with him. And this is still NXT time. And you're like we're all sitting in these chairs and you're kind of sitting away. And I remember Dean, the producer, he said, "Hey, you're involved in this too." And you're like, "Hey, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I just wanna listen and see where I fit in."
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still like that to this day, man.
Dude.
Still to this day.
And it was one of those days where none of us have ideas. Now the problem is, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but Harry and I were drinking the night before with Arn Anderson in the hotel. Drinking these like Cosmopolitans.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, and I just remember like, so I'm hungover the next day still. Like I'm not, when we're trying to put this together, I feel terrible, but we're wrestling Punk, who's straight edge. So I can't say, man, I don't really feel good because I was drinking last night. Give me a minute. Because I know it's just, he and I are friends, and I know he's just going to piss him off. So I'm just like keeping it to myself. Like, I hope. And when you're over there, now English food, there is good, obviously there's good English food, but our catering is usually very bland. When we're in England.
Yes.
So I'm
yes,
eating this
yes.
like bland food, and I'm hungover, and I was like, I'm drinking as much coffee. I was like, this is terrible. Dude, I started eating the cookies, and I was like, these don't even taste good right now. I feel terrible right now. And finally I kicked out. I remember so perfectly, I was watching JTG versus either Beretta or Croft, and I kicked out, and I was like, I'm gonna be good for the match. Hell yeah, I'm good. Yeah. But I couldn't tell Bunk, dude, I feel terrible. I was drinking last night with Arn. I know it's just gonna piss him off, so I just started being like, I don't know, I didn't sleep well last night. Let me think. It was terrible.
Arnold.
Yeah.
TJ's the guy, the first ever tag team elimination chamber match. I think it was TJ and Cesaro put all that together. I'm the guy that just, hey, guys, put me where I need to be. Put me where, I took my first ever off the top. I took my first ever gut wrench suplex from Cesaro. I was scared. He took care of me like no other, man. I mean, it was you guys that put together that match. I just said, put me in where I need to go, man, because there's too much going on. I can't remember.
So again, one of those things, I know it's obviously going to sound like I'm praising myself, but my point is it's one of those things. It's one of those things where, again, I was saying the relationship with your peers. So I remember we're all sitting in the stands and we're getting told the details of the chamber match. I remember the idea at that time was that Cesaro and I would be the last cage to open, the last pod to open, and that we would be eliminated like probably within 3 minutes. And I remember everybody saying, no, we can't do it that way. These guys are the glue. And I was like, oh my God, like, I love these guys, man. Like Cesaro and I are going to go fight for ourselves. I know that. And I especially, at that time I'd become a lot more chill. I knew Cesaro was definitely going to go fight for us. I know he's going to. But when I saw everyone else do that, I was like, hell yeah, man. Like this is what I do this for, is that we all are on the same page.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to one up somebody else. If I'm in there with you, let's do the best we can do. I'm not going to try to come back and say, Darren's no good. Hell no. I want to come back and say, hey, follow that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, man, that was a great. Obviously, my last match is the next day. So, like, I always treat my official last matches like that chamber. And so, like, that moment to this day, like, means the world to me.
Yeah.
When we're all sitting in those stands.
Yeah.
But TJ, what's this footage I'm seeing you in the ring, man? What's going on? I mean, you look good in there.
So I got a ring in a warehouse where I would like store my supplements, and I got a ring put in there. I got a ring from WWE that I requested.
Wow.
Really, my plan is just to kind of like either like have talent work out, or like even if I just like, and I'm sure you understand this, if I'm sitting in my house, if I'm watching wrestling, I'll start really thinking of wrestling. But if I go, and it's only 20 minutes from my house to the warehouse, if I go there and I even just kind of sit in the ring, now I'm really thinking of wrestling, and I'm really coming up with stuff, not for myself, but for other people.
Yes.
And so I had the guys come set it up for me last Thursday, and I was like, let me just hit the ropes a little bit, because like I haven't hit the ropes in 5 years. I just want to do it.
Yes.
And so that's all that was.
Wow. But never say never, though, right?
I think so the truth is, I'm at peace with it. I pitched I wanted to try to do a Royal Rumble, so that the only reason I wanted to do the Royal Rumble,
yes. I'm getting goosebumps.
I didn't want to take somebody's spot, but I wanted to just say if our careers are a book, I just wanted to write the last chapter is not the match I got injured. The very last paragraph of my book is, then TJ had one more little match at the Royal Rumble. He didn't have to take any bumps. He got eliminated over the top rope, and he's healthy.
Yeah.
The talks got pretty good, but eventually there were a lot of reasons maybe why we couldn't do it. And while I was waiting for an answer for like 2 to 3 weeks, and again, maybe Freddie's experiences, but maybe not, because you've never like stopped wrestling besides an injury, but you've never kind of just decided like, yeah, I guess I'm retired now. Like that anxiety that I would get anxiety before my matches. Like if I knew a pay-per-view match was coming up 2 weeks out, I would start like having a hard time sleeping, or I'm dreaming of the match. And that's been gone in my life until like last year when I was trying to do the Royal Rumble in Phoenix, 2019. For those couple weeks I was waiting for an answer, those dreams started coming back again, where like the match is the Royal Rumble's getting ready to start, and I can't find my gear, and where did I put it? Where did I put my bag? And like those dreams don't exist with me anymore. That feeling doesn't exist with me anymore. So I started getting those. So when the answer was no, I can't lie, there was a little bit of me that was relieved, because it was like, well, what if I am making a mistake? What if what's meant to be is meant to be, and I'm, I truly, like from the bottom of my heart, enjoy my job, enjoy my role right now. That
You're great at it, man.
I don't want to jeopardize something, and for one little thing that, say it goes excellent, that's great, but say it really, the thing that was said was, hey, just say we think everything's in our control and everything's fine, but what if something happens? Now, when that was said to me, in my mind, don't ask me why, in my mind, it was like I'm like coming down to the ring, and I'm standing on the steps, and I'm kind of looking at the crowd, and somebody jumps me from behind and whip flashes my neck. That was like the image in my mind.
Yeah.
So fast forward 3 months later, I'm at the Hall of Fame watching, and some guy dives in and spears Natty and Brett down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like I had this image happening to me on the steps. And 3 months later, I'm watching, and I was like, okay, the right call was made. I don't need one last little thing. That's fine. I'm good. I'm good doing what I do now.
Yeah, and you're, like I said before, you're amazing at it, man. And I think you have such a great.
I appreciate that.
And
it took me a little bit to get kind of back used to things. I was kind of so gone from being a part of WWE for 2 years, and then to become a producer was like, okay, give me a little bit of time to get like acclimated to this, because I mean, for anybody, if you go from wrestler to producer, there's not a course you take. It's all learning on the job.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been around for 2 years, and so it just took me a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Who's some of your favorite talent currently to work with?
So I'm very biased, obviously, Natty. So for a long time, I kept working with like Seth and Dolph, guys like that, and it was like, dude, how easy is my job of doing that? And then at some point things shifted, and I started working a lot with the women, and I worked a lot with Becky, Carmella. That was kind of where it started. Carmella, then Becky. A lot lately is Sasha and Bailey, Asuka. Like they're just like, they're so driven. Obviously, like I said, Natty, like she wanted to go to the ring today and go over some stuff, and just like because there's not live events now where we're used to kind of like, she's used to wrestling 3 or 4 days a week, and now just it's a different schedule. So, and she's been wrestling for like 20 years, and here she is. Like, you can always get better, and you can always learn something new. And so like I love the thing I love about working with the women is, and I'm trying to think what's the best way to word this. So say over the last so I think those girls they just passed like 5 years, like Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky, that they got called up to the main roster. So say 5 years since this like women's evolution. It's still really new. Like there's only been, I told the girls at Money in the Bank, so they did the original Money in the Bank, the women's one. Then they did it again on SmackDown. That was like my second day as a producer. And then so now the next pay-per-view, I look at them and I saw like I saw 7 or 8, can't remember, nervous faces getting ready to go out there for the Money in the Bank. And I like I said, I think I have a very good rapport with the talent, and me not being so far removed from being a talent, And I was like, I went up to them. I took the headset off because and I said, hey guys, here's the thing. As long as nobody gets hurt, it's all good. You guys can go out there. If you guys mess up every single thing, guess what? If you guys go out there and this match sucks, guess what? It's still the third best women's Money in the Bank ladder match ever.
So
And they all
Yes,
took a second and they're like, this is only the third ever. I said, exactly. So
good.
in 20 years, it's still in the top 20.
That's true.
yes.
Facts.
And they're like, then like they kind of relax. And in a weird way, again, I don't know if I'm wording this properly, but they're almost playing, they're not playing, maybe maybe us as a company, but it's almost a game of catch up. Like
Yeah.
how many men's rumbles have there been? There's been over 30. There's been 3 women's rumbles.
Right.
So it's still new. It's still fresh. There's been, I believe, 2 women's Hell in a Cell matches.
Yeah.
So and it's cool for me to be on this journey with them, and whatever small part I play in it. It's so cool to see them come back after a match and like be so proud. Like I wasn't the producer for it. Fit was, and he did an excellent job. But it was Natty and Becky had a submissions match at SummerSlam last year in Toronto, and it was amazing, and it was so cool. Like what's really cool is that somewhere there is WWE footage of Seth and I watching it together in Gorilla. Some cool footage that they have somewhere.
Man, I love talking wrestling with you, man. This could be like a 5-hour podcast, and I'll enjoy every minute of it.
I can just go on, man. I've watched. I don't know. I've been engulfed myself into so much wrestling over 25 years.
And this is cool. Me and Fred were actually just talking about this. Like the first time we ever done a Zoom 3-part where it exceeded like an hour and 20 minutes was with Tarver. So you're like the second person that would have to connect 3 times. It's great, man. I love it. I just want to ask one question. You're such a great producer, and like you mentioned you work with so many talents in WWE, and I also heard that one of the talents that you work with was with Brock, right? Like you produced a few of his matches. How was it working with him?
I did one with Brock. It was funny. It was interesting because he had his own room, which isn't unusual, and so I kind of I didn't know when we were first meeting. So like I was with Michael Hayes, and Hayes had gone in there, and I didn't go in there right away. And I was like, oh, it's like awkward if I go in there now. So I'll just wait. And then I saw like Braun eating, and I was like, hey, I said, were you just with Brock? He's like, yeah. He's like, we're going back in 20 minutes. I'm like, all right. So then I went in there, and then it was in LA. So funny. And then I was in there, and Michael Hayes got called to go do something, and Braun got called to do something, and then it was just me, Brock, and this friend of his, and I was like, man, do I just sit here, which is like awkward, but if I just get up and if I just get up and walk out, like pretend I'm on my phone or something, like that's awkward too. And I was like, man, worst case scenario, I guess could be really bad. Maybe Brock beats the hell out of me. But I was like, worst case scenario is he just says, hey, get the hell out of here. And I was like, sorry, Mr. Wrestler, or whatever. Anyway, man, I'm just sitting there, and he's like, hey, TJ, you're from Calgary, right? And I was like, yeah. I said, dude, you moved to Saskatchewan. And he's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so did Stu ever stretch you? And I said, yeah, he did. And then funny that my memory came in. I said, dude, Stu would have loved you. I was like, oh no, I said, you met him one time, right? He's like, yeah, he was being pushed around in a wheelchair at a house show. I said, yeah. I said, so he wasn't actually confined to a wheelchair. He just, to get him around backstage, it just was easier to push him in a wheelchair at that time. He was like 87, turning 88 at that.
Wow.
Yeah, and dude, and he was enamored with like big guys. And I said, I remember you meeting him because he asked you what you weighed, and he's like, yeah, how the hell do you remember that? I said, dude, I have a really I said, Brock, I have a really crazy memory, man. I can't help it. And it was very cool, man. It was very cool that his friend was there, but it was like me, Brock, and his friend kind of talking about like Stu and being stretched and like living in Canada was like just kind of, I wouldn't have guessed that like that was gonna be my conversation that day, man. I'm telling you.
Wow.
So it was cool. It was very cool. And especially ever since then, he's always been like almost like goes out of his way to at least like say hi when I see
Oh,
him.
that's nice. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, even if he was like insanely rude to me, which again he never has been.
Yeah.
He still for me, if I take myself out of the equation and I just try to watch it as a fan, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So
Sure.
So I would be like, oh man, yeah. I guess he's just living the gimmick. I would try to like think of it in a way that like it wouldn't hurt my feelings that like he was extra rude to me, but he wasn't, man. He's always nothing but nice. So
TJ, normally like I like to do the podcast sometimes outside or inside. Outside it's like WrestleMania. Like when WrestleMania starts, it's light, and then by the time the main event, it's dark. You know, so we'll definitely have to do a part 2. But before we take it home, I just wanted to hit you with 21 rapid questions. You down to play?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And are these supposed to be like one-word answers?
You can do whatever. It can be one word. You can elaborate, but it's just all in good fun.
Gotcha.
Question 1. What's your favorite thing in your closet right now?
Favorite thing in my closet? So I have these man, I forgot the name of it. Jinder's one who showed me, and like you hook it up to this kind of like it inflate you, so you have these leg ones, you put them on your legs, it almost looks like hockey pants style.
Oh yeah,
and it helps like recovery like after like a hard leg workout. And so I got that recently, and I keep it in my closet. So at the moment, that's my favorite thing in my closet. I don't have the name offhand right now.
Yeah, I forgot. I tried Titus's one time when I was at his place, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. When things break, do you prefer to fix it or replace it?
I'm gonna go replace. I genuinely, I'm the worst handyman in the whole world.
Me too.
So if I have to fix something, I have to hire someone. So like, I may as well just replace it.
Okay. What job would you be absolutely horrible at?
Oh, I mean, man, anything outside of wrestling that's not involved in wrestling, man. Like, let's say a marine biologist. Terrible.
What's your favorite movie ever?
Ooh, favorite movie ever. Man, this is going to sound so bad. Why do I forget the name of it? Denzel movie where he's the bodyguard in Mexico for the little girl.
I've never seen that one.
Man, I know the name. Prior to that, it was always Shawshank Redemption, and then what? No. Natty's on Training Day. It's not Training Day. That's the cop one. What's his?
There was like a 2-part, right? Like.
This movie's kind of a redo. I remember one time Primo mentioned it to me on the bus because a wrestler from Puerto Rico, Apollo, he's one of the guys. He's one of these like one of the guys in on this kidnapping so he's in the movie. I'll look it up before this conversation's done, but of course I'm stumped on the title. I'm really bad at like song titles too. I'll know a song, but I won't know the title.
Same here.
I get that.
Man on Fire. Natty just told me Man on Fire. It's Man on Fire. If you haven't seen it, like if you want to talk like wrestling lingo, if you want to talk about like the ultimate comeback, watch that movie.
Okay.
Watch that movie.
Will do.
Tell Natty, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
What's the most disturbing thing you've ever witnessed?
Most disturbing thing I've ever witnessed. Man, that's pretty tough.
It could be in the streets. It could be in the locker room.
I'm trying to think. So I don't know if this counts, but I remember like again when I have to keep bringing my cat into the vet, and this family brought in like their dog, and the dog I think had tried to jump a picket fence and like almost like caught itself on its stomach, and it had maybe punctured something really serious. So this family's in there, and this vet was an emergency vet. So like, they're great. They were always so great with me. But the truth is, you go to emergency vet, like the money just even to come in is like doubled going to a normal vet.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, to do these, we'd have to do an x-ray. So in order to do that, it'll be like $1,000. And the family's like, oh, we don't know. And I saw the family kind of huddling, and I was like, oh man, I know that's maybe not the most disturbing thing I've seen, but I was like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here before I did, like, there's a giant part of me that wanted to say like, no, I'll pay for it. But then like, that's just going to open up Pandora's box. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. I got to get out of here. And I just felt so terrible, man, that like this dog's in pain and awful.
Eat it.
If you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say?
What would I say? I would say, I think that one thing that I wish that we should have learned during this pandemic, and I don't know that we have, is that we can't take anything for granted. And I know I need to take my own advice, but I think we need to be a lot kinder to each other.
Yes.
I love that.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve, So I'm, my biggest pet peeve goes along with Maddie's biggest pet peeve. So I'm big at like, I put things in weird places, but I know they're there, but she doesn't. She sees it as clutter, so she moves it. And now I have to go ask her where it is. And then, like, so her biggest pet peeve is me putting it in these places. My biggest pet peeve is she moves it from these weird places that I store stuff.
What's the stupidest thing you've ever done because someone dared you to?
Man, that would probably be something in wrestling, like probably like when we were kids. So when I was a kid, like, man, I don't know if this only happens in wrestling, but in wrestling, what I find is if you get hurt doing something, you're less likely to do that again. You kind of have the mental block and a fear. And as a young kid at like 14, I broke my wrist doing a drop kick off the top rope. Wow. And I had a real fear of doing that again. And I like couldn't bring myself to do it again. And I remember the ring was set up for some reason. It was winter time. There was snow. And Teddy's like, I don't know if he's daring me or just almost physically forcing me, but he was forced me to do a drop kick off the top rope again. And it was like in the snow. It was, the ring's frozen, man. It's like, it had no give to it, but I did it. Goodness. And I did it again for the rest of my career.
What's your favorite swear word?
The F word for sure, right? It kind of it can mean anything. Yeah. It can be used when you're happy, when you're mad, sad, everything. And it encompasses that. I don't know if there's a word that encompasses everything more than the good old F word at the right time.
I think Ryder said that. We had him on the podcast. I think he said that.
Yeah, it's hard to top it.
What is one food that you would never give up?
One food I would never give up. I will say sushi.
Oh, yes.
Sushi, yes.
Good answer.
If you could have 3 people over, dead or alive, for dinner, who would they be?
Okay. The interesting group here. Let me see. Brett, because he always has those great stories. Then yes. I guess it'd be 2 guys that I never. Conor McGregor. Wow. And then Tupac, and we'll see where the conversation kind of goes. Who's gonna control that conversation? I'm just gonna be listening. I'm not gonna be speaking. So I'm just gonna see where it goes. Who takes over?
What's the worst backhanded compliment someone's ever given you?
That one's pretty classic. It's okay. So I actually, almost my whole career, when I meet a fan in person, it almost always is, wow, you're way bigger than I thought you were on TV. Or another one would be, oh man, I wish they used you better.
Oh God, same here. Here.
I know they mean as a genuine compliment. I know that, but then the funniest one was it's literally happened one time. That's why it sticks out. I met someone and they're like, oh, I thought you'd be bigger. So I was like, oh, wow, okay.
Number 14, is your belly button inner or outer?
In.
Who was your first celebrity crush?
I bet Ryder may. I wonder, did you ask Ryder the same question?
Yes.
You know his answer or no?
I do.
Off the
Yeah.
top of your head? Did he say? Did he say
said
Kelly
Pep-
from Saved by the
yeah.
Bell?
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably mine too.
And I would always, when I was younger, I would always say that too, but it was really AC Slater.
Dude, so totally off topic, but I watched this documentary called Outcry on Showtime, and then I followed the guy. He followed me back. It's an unbelievable story. But so I watched his Instagram story yesterday, and he was walking with a guy, and I was like, "Yo, that looks like Mario Lopez." But I was like, but like a way younger version, dude. It was Mario Lopez. He just looks phenomenal at whatever. Like I'm 40 now. At whatever age he is, he just looks absolutely phenomenal, man.
Yeah, he doesn't.
And bro,
working out is the secret.
Yeah,
exactly. And you look good too. You just turned 40, man. You look like you're 21, bro.
Oh, thank you.
Number 16. What's something you've tried that you'll never try again? It'd probably be the drop kick, huh?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The truth is, but I didn't know. I'll never take a bump again.
What was your first job?
My first job, delivering flyers.
Oh wow.
I don't know if that's a thing in America, but that was a thing. Like when I was a kid in Calgary, was like a lot of like friends or people I knew, like they delivered flyers. And if I delivered flyers, I mean, I would deliver to like 2 or 3 houses, be lazy, throw them in the garbage, and then like my mom was like, if you don't do them, they're gonna call the people and find out. And I was like, and this is like 1991 or something. So like I unplugged my house phone, like they can't call me if my phone's unplugged.
18. What's your favorite TV show?
Of all time?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with Seinfeld. I love Seinfeld.
Is there a personality trait you can't stand?
No. Funny enough, I feel like I can. I don't know why. I can kind of get along with kind of anybody.
Best gift ever received.
Sorry, what's that?
Best gift ever received.
So be due to the way that the world was this year on my birthday, Natty originally planned to have a bunch of people over, but then thought with social distancing and just it's probably best we don't. So instead she made like a YouTube video where she got a bunch of people to send in videos. And so so rather than people coming over and kind of telling me like, hey, happy birthday, like we think you're cool for one time, like now I have this YouTube video that I can watch anytime I want. And so it's the best gift I've ever received.
That's awesome.
And last but not least, toilet paper over or under?
Under. But I'm also, when I'm home, I'm a bidet guy. I have a bidet.
Yes.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, TJ, we can definitely go on and on, but really, thank you for being a part of the podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, man, I appreciate it, and I thank you guys for having me, and I look forward to being able to see you guys soon in person, hopefully, when things kind of resume a little bit more normal. I look forward to it.
Thank you so much, man.
Yes, definitely.
It's cool because, like, obviously I met you last time in Bakersfield, but like every time I've ever run into Freddie, it's not like you can just like pick up and have a conversation like I just saw him the day before. It's never like a weird, awkward like hey man, are you good? Like right away back to the same. Even in our conversation page, it's right away back to normal. Like we just wrestled each other yesterday. It's cool. I really like it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, when the world gets normal, we should all get like sushi and just, hang out.
Yeah, man. LA has some awesome Korean barbecue that I love.
Oh, yes.
Hell
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. It's like,
oh man, thank you guys.
For you. I feel so bad it's so late.
No, it's all good. I'm fine. I'm a night owl. It's all good.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, man.
Okay.
Talk soon.
Take care, guys.
TJ Tyson, he's still my boy,
Yeah.
Sometimes I call sometimes I call guys by their real name, by their stage name. It don't matter. But TJ is something special. I'm glad he's still making moves, producing, helping newer talent, and talent that's already, making moves themselves. He's got a great mind for the business. He's always been one of my go-to guys when it came to putting together matches or having ideas and stuff like that. He's got a great mind. I'm glad he's still doing his thing.
Yeah, and he's so humble that he doesn't like make it a big deal, but he is super inspirational, man. He's such an inspirational individual. I feel like he can be a motivational speaker because he went through something that could break a lot of people, like what he went through was a career-ending injury. There was a moment where he thought that he was paralyzed from the neck down, and he did what he had to do to pick himself back up, and he should be bragging about it, but he's just going about it like kind of like, yeah, you know what I mean, like, yeah, I did it. But like it's so powerful, that he conquered that, and he's such a strong individual, and it was an honor talking to him. Just a great guy, man. Like I feel like I connect with anyone that enjoys wrestling, so it was a cool convo.
And and you want to talk about being a joy to have in a locker room, and like, he'll let you know if like something's not right or something doesn't look right. He's just like over the top in the locker room. He'll let you know how it is, so he's one guy I don't want to get on his bad side. And for him to do the podcast, of course he was on the list. I wanted to have him on.
Yeah.
My motto, don't die with the story and you tell it, baby.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's been a great episode, one of our long ones, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're listening to us on iTunes, make sure you guys give us a 5-star review. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. And until then,
episode 57 is a wrap. Block the hate. Salute the great Arnold Telegaarta.